go.
Okay, this is the meeting of the Lodging Tax Committee, and I'll have everybody introduce themselves. I should have done that yesterday. Jay Rosapepe, Port Orchard City Council.
Sharon King, Fathoms of Fun Festival.
Lorraine Olson, Mrs. House Bed and Breakfast.
I'm Corinne Haydock from the Port Orchard Bay Street Association.
Brandy Rainerson, City Clerk, City Staff, and then we do have a member of the public here wanting to observe the meeting as well today.
So basically, yesterday we heard presentations by the 6 applicants. We had a discussion also about the purpose of the allocation of the Lodging Tax Committee for tourism and marketing. The purpose of today's meeting is to allocate the funds. We have $100,000 right now from the city for allocations. We can allocate all of it or part of it. I also stated yesterday that we possibly could come back together as restrictions, COVID restrictions are lifted and events start to take place to see if we wanted to, if there were any other funds available in 2021. And just a reminder that we have 3 members of the committee. I am a facilitator. I have no vote today. I will just try to encourage you to take a look, bring up some questions, try to answer some, if you have any questions. Also, Brandy, who is well aware of the rules and the laws that govern LTAC. And I think that's about where I'm at. We have 6 applications to look at and allocate the fund. So if somebody would like to start in, it would be great.
Jay?
Yes.
Can I ask a question or make a comment before we talk about the individual? So do you know if we have an opportunity to apply later for events, will we convene as the same committee, or will you, do you know yet whether you'd have another committee or just?
That's a good question. I believe that we try to keep the same committee for any allocations for 20. Oh, I'm sorry, I had the wrong one. I believe we try to keep the same committee for any allocations during 2021.
Sure. Okay.
And go from there.
Okay. So, you know, and I mean, I just want to make the comment or the observation that, I mean, our events, sometimes I think maybe not everybody fully understands how important the events are to downtown and the local businesses and community. And so I really, really hope for Fathoms, for pubs, for Saints, for all. I mean, I know Saints didn't put in for tourism, but that there's that opportunity to come back. And even if we come back and look at event allocations and then those allocations can't take place because we don't get where we need to have all those events, it'll be a lot easier for the various organizations to jump in if they know they have some allocations coming than to, you know, find out. I think you're following what I'm saying. So I just want to put in my 2 cents for that. You know, we're really fortunate to have so many great events. So I hope we have the opportunity to at least look at how we might fund those and then hope that we can fund them, that we can have them, that we can hold those events. So.
Well, it's interesting, unless I have the math wrong, and there's always that possibility, we're not at our limit right now.
Correct.
And in addition, so we could, you know, fund these as presented, and then see how things go and get back together as a committee. In other words, we don't have to allocate all 100,000. 100,000 wasn't requested.
Right.
You could choose to do that and then say, hey, we have 100,000 in the pot. Our recommendation is that as things move forward in the year that we re-meet, I think that's the correct language, that we would meet again and then allocate the remaining funds if, you know, approved, like, as you said, you know, the Saints, so, you know, for the cruise and stuff. That's a choice that you have. Again, I'm a facilitator.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I'm also saying from the side of the city council and staff and the mayor and everything, I'd really encourage the consideration that we might even look at those allocations earlier, sooner than later. And then if you can't, just like 2020, we had those allocations made and those events planned and they didn't take place, and then you don't get the reimbursement. And it'd be nice if we could handle 2021 a little bit more like that, just so those organizations can make some kind of plans, which might have to be canceled.
Well, and I fully support that. I truly do.
Okay. Oh, that's all I wanted to start with.
And I did want to make a comment that the mayor had asked me to provide to the committee. And he wanted the committee to keep in mind that when you are making your recommendation to the council on the allocations, is that the 100,000 is for all of 2021. So if you choose to allocate all of it to the current applicants, that's what it is. He just wanted me to provide a percentage to you so that hopefully you can stay within that guidelines. And what he wanted me to present was, you should be allocating the same amount percentage wise that you do for tourism and marketing that you have done in the past years. So I did take last year's, or excuse me, 2020's numbers, and 43% of the funds allocated were for tourism marketing. So take it with whatever you want, but that's what he wanted me to say. Hey, keep in mind that you really shouldn't, because otherwise what it's going to do, and Corinne alluded to this, is it's going to shortchange the event organizers. And if we are able to hold these events, the money's been allocated and there's not going to be any money spent, or there's no events, and rather than money sitting in the bank, you know, it could be used for the greater good. So that's just what he wanted me to point out, is that percentage number for you. And then after that, you guys can obviously deliberate and provide whatever you want.
Do you have any idea, Brandy? Do you think that the percentage was probably close to the same 2019, 2018?
I can pull it up and check while you guys are talking. And by the end at the numbers, if, you know, I can do a percentage for, you know, 17, 18, and 19, see where they're at. And then if you guys are ready to make your final numbers, I can do the comparison.
Okay.
So that if there's any final adjustments, we can make it.
Fathoms did not put in for tourism last year. We put in for tourism/event marketing, that category. So we've never applied separately just for tourism because we're so event driven.
Yeah, and typically you
that's
wouldn't. Yeah, and
my
typically
main
you wouldn't,
concern.
based on the nature of your, just same with the Saints and the Cruise. I mean, the Cruise and the Mustangs. That's why they didn't apply, because that's not part of their organization. So.
Right now, unless I've done the math wrong, the allocations, the requested allocations is approximately $69,000. It's $68,950. So out of the 6 applications, you know, I would caution or hesitate to add funds more than requested. That gives LTAC dollars can only be spent on LTAC, so it's not like the additional 31,000 would go to general fund in the city or repair roads or something. So that kind of gives a balance should we be able to be, how would I say, very nimble if events start coming back, both in areas of tourism and marketing. So that's my 2 cents worth as a facilitator.
And I just had a question for Brandy. Did you finish your looking for those other dates? I don't want to interrupt your. Can you guys hear? You can hear me, right?
Yeah. What dates are you talking about?
She was.
I don't know. You just asked Brandy for some dates, and she was working on it.
Oh,
And I didn't want to interrupt if she was still trying to find them. But I had a question for Brandy.
okay.
Yeah, I'm still working on it.
Okay, you can wait.
So go ahead.
So I want to say that I think everyone did such a good job yesterday presenting, and it's so interesting to be a part of this time and to be a part of this committee and supporting those that applied. And I would certainly, with after I get this one question clarified, I would certainly be supportive of funding them all as they appear, as Jay sort of gave us that thought. It would really be a nice boost for them, and then it would give us some reserve for if something were to come up, you know, next year or earlier in the year, as you, Corinne, had hoped that maybe we could do. And my only question was just to make sure that we were meeting they all seem to be tourism and marketing requests is what I was seeking clarification and Jay, you can probably clarify that. And so the 43%, the 68,950 would be more than the 43%, I think, which means we'd be okay.
Except for if 43% of past funds, whatever that fund is, and this year it's 100,000, 43% has been going to tourism marketing, and 43% of 100,000 is 46.5, and we have 69 being asked for. I think that actually cuts way into event money.
Yeah, that only leaves 25,850 left for events.
Yeah, and I would, you know, I'd rather see us not fund. There's a couple of them I'd like to fund all of it, but I'd rather see us cut back on most of them so we're closer to that 43% with the hopes that we can do events, because I just really feel like events are so important. I mean, you know, I know that, I don't know how you do this, Jay and Brandy, with, for instance, Sharon and I, because we have requests in, but I would say right now, I'd be happy to see POBSA get less if we could save a little more for events. Crossing my fingers, events take place.
Okay, so basically, you know, you can make a proposal on allocations, and you know, you've kind of given your rationale, and then either the committee with 3 voting members makes a decision,
Okay.
yes or no. I mean, you can look at them holistically, or you can look at them individually.
Okay.
I think that what I was saying, the last part of what I was saying was that I would be cautious. It makes me a little cautious to distribute the 60, whatever the percentage comes to. I don't want to set a precedent for future funding for tourism and marketing at the risk of next year not allowing enough for the activities. But we also, none of us have a crystal ball. I don't want to see any of this money go unspent either. And I just honestly don't know how likely it is that we're going to be able to have activities the same way that we did before. And certainly not, maybe not even in the first half of the year. So how many activities are actually left, say after July, and then what would be a reasonable amount? I mean, it's really hard. We're guessing, you know, all we're doing is guessing here. But what I really don't want to see is money left on the table unspent.
So, but does the money, I mean, it's where would it go? Where's the money from this year going? I mean, it's still there. It's
still there. It can only be spent for lodging and tax activities. That's part of the reason, until we have some numbers, you know, firm numbers, that the council is not interested in taking a look at the money being saved this year, because we don't know what it's going to look like in 2021 and 2022. They feel very comfortable that we'll have, you know, the 100,000 that we go. And this is why we can always meet again, if necessary, to fund should good things happen in the next year.
yes.
It's a crapshoot right now. I mean, you know, listening to the tea leaves, just like we all are.
So the money doesn't go away. That's still there.
It's still there.
So, and two things. I mean, I know a couple meetings back at the economic development. I mean, going forward somewhere in the future, I would anticipate, I'm, you know, just based on what I know, money will go to our community event center as that goes along, and that's down the road. So the money can be put to use at some point in time for lodging, tourism, events. Is there also the possibility, Jay and Brandy, that if we can't come back for event money, we could come back and distribute a little bit more tourism marketing money?
Always.
Yeah,
So-
so it's up to the chair to call the meeting. This
Okay.
is the order, and it can happen for various reasons. One, he's the chair, and he's requested from the director, the finance director, a fund balance, and sees that there's funds in there, and he wants to call the committee to possibly open it up for applications, or you can just meet to talk about policies and procedures and all of that, or the council can direct it. Typically, the city's only done it once a year, and every now and again at the first of the year, which is typically January, February, we will open it up because there's a flux in increased revenue. It's been a few years since we've done that, but we used to do it traditionally year after year. It was just an automatic process. And then I think 2008 or 9 or 10, around that process, around those years, we didn't have the funds. So the committee never reconvened to distribute those funds. So Jay can do it at any time. I can tell you that the allocations that the city receives, I believe, are 2 months behind.
That's correct.
It's collected, goes to the state, may go through the county. I'm not quite sure how all that works, but the city doesn't receive the revenue for 2 months after it's been collected by the hoteliers. So the soonest, from what I understand from when the council met and discussed this, is they're possibly not even going to look at the fund balance, if you will, all the reimbursements for this year, all of the monies received in for this year, the fund balance, until probably 1st of March. Which means the soonest that the committee is going to come back and even look at dispersing funds is March. I think the council has to wait 60 days before taking action. So you're looking at mid-spring before the monies can even be dispersed and out to the communities.
And on a positive note, you know, we do have the funds that have not been spent this year. And,
Which is a huge amount.
So, which is good. Yes, it is. And we should realize, and God, we'll probably say it more than once today, you know, it's a very unique year. And so, you know, part of me says that, hey, we're spending money on tourism marketing, and do we want to be careful both for possible events? Should we be okay? But then if you spend on tourism marketing all the money, but you don't hold any events, what's the benefit too?
Yeah.
So as opposed to holding on to the money and then reconvening.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, it's a tough one, because it's unlike, this is what, my 3rd year or 4th year, I think 3rd year, and looking at past history and this year, wow, this is weird.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying, Jay, and I appreciate all the comments, especially towards the event side. Fathoms, being the maker of many events in our community, we have to strategize and plan, and we do that between November and December. As last year, we moved everything from June to September, hoping it would happen even in September, which it didn't get to happen. And so even if we're looking at doing that this next year, we still have to plan. Here's plan A with
Right.
X number of dollars. Here's plan B with a whole lot less dollars. So that means, what are we cutting in plan B that we have to cut because we don't have the revenue stream coming in at all? And if we're not given any type of event revenue from LTAC, that even means a greater cut in what we do. And probably concerts will be our number one cut, that there won't be concerts except for the money that we currently have allocated that has been given to us for 2021 that move forward. And so there will be a whole lot less activity, but we have to plan. one way with good revenue and one way with hardly any revenue. So, but I appreciate what you're saying, Jay.
Yep, I got a whole day budget meeting tomorrow, but because of 2021. Lorraine, you don't have to raise your hand every time. Just jump in. There's only 5 of us.
I know.
I know, but it's always hard to break in sometimes. Sharon, I really am glad you brought that up, that the concept about that you and others really have to do planning now for next year. And so it's really important. It is important, the decisions I think that we make now. It's always good to have something tentative for later, but that makes it hard if you have to do mid-year planning, you know, in terms of the activities that you have to plan ahead for. But I'm sure you did this, Jay, as a council, but you guys took into consideration when you said the 100,000 that you took into consideration the forecasts where the income from lodging tax is going to be hugely reduced, because I can't even begin to tell you how reduced my own contribution is from my business.
Yeah.
From lodging tax. It's gone from thousands to little piddly amounts.
You know, one of the reasons we looked at the 100,000 holding it steady is partly because of the money that's not going to be spent this year. And should things recover quickly, we didn't want to be on the outside trying to allocate more, more funds.
Sure.
Again, Corinne was absolutely 100% right. These funds don't go anywhere. I think it would be, I can't think of the right words, but I think, I'm committed that we should have another meeting, probably in February or March, if things progress the way CDC talks about and the governors talk about. We may have some good news by then. Otherwise, we know at least where we'll stand. So I'm not, I'm not saying this is it by any stretch. I'm saying my request would be conservative and keep the money in the bank, and then we can allocate it. I almost said dole it out. Allocate it as need be, and commit to meeting again in the February timeframe.
I have another question. In reviewing Matt's proposal for the chamber, he put everything under operations rather than tourism, and by the way he's defining the chamber office to be allocating tourism marketing versus operations, I'm not quite sure how he defines that on there.
So the Chamber of Commerce and Visit Kitsap are in a different category. They're in a category called tourism marketing. That's their, that is the definition of their organization. That's what their organization is made of. And the state legislators recognize that. And
So he should have moved it under tourism marketing then and not put it under operations.
So it's either tourism marketing, so all of the operations and expenses and publications that goes under tourism marketing, or it's operations and events expenses for events. So it's either tourism marketing or events, which is events and marketing and operations expense. So it's 2 separate categories. So when you're the chamber and you're the Visit Kitsap, you are allowed to include operation costs.
Operational cost, okay.
Or visit. Yeah, it's goofy, but those are the only 2 organizations that are excluded from the, because they don't hold events.
Okay.
Typically.
Well, being the newbie on the board or on this committee, I thought I better ask that to clarify my own
Good
mind.
question.
Good question. So anybody feels like making a proposal, or
Well,
you know.
I think we should try to hit around the 50% mark. That's higher than what we normally do for tourism. But, I'm too optimistic, but, I just want to believe we aren't going to be after July before we have events. Of course, I didn't think we'd be in November.
We didn't either.
And that's just my nature. I just, but I'd rather plan for it and hope for it and then have it not happen than to be certain. Nope. I mean, and I'm not, no offense to anybody, but there's just so many people I hear that think, oh, well, we're going to be shut down for all of 2021. No, we're not. That's what I say. So,
Yeah.
so if we shoot for 50,000 each, 52, 51, 52, that would be my recommendation. And I kind of worked some numbers here.
So
But
what would that look like? What would that look like, Corrine? I'm really curious.
well, I mean, it's still not at 50,000, but you know, I would like to see Fathoms get all $3,500 and the museum get all 5,000 because they're really stuck. That's, you know, me.
I'm keeping a running spreadsheet here as you say things, so.
Okay, and so I'm still kind of playing here because it's still coming to 53, but you know, dropping VCB by at least 4. The
So what-
chamber by at least 4.
Okay, so the chamber had 2 applications.
I know. And so, you know, Explore Port Orchard maybe needs to go to 6. I mean, I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but we do have a lot of not redundancy. A lot of us are doing the same thing, which works in a year when everything's good because then your potential visitors, tourists are getting the message from more than one place. And that, I don't think that's a bad thing, but in this situation, so maybe Explore goes to 6, Chamber goes to 10, POPSA goes to 8. I don't know what that comes out to. That's still over 50.
Give me 5 seconds and I'll tell you.
Okay.
Okay, so right now with that proposal, you'd be at 52.5.
Yeah. So maybe we even shave off another 1,000 or something, or maybe, you know what? So I'm much, and I'm speaking from somebody who's worked in this community for a long, long time in marketing and tourism, etc., business advocacy. And I'm much more happy with what Visit Kitsap and VCB does now than they did 5 and 10 years ago.
Mhm.
But the culture is different there and the culture is different in the city. But I also know what they're getting from the county and what they normally get from Bremerton. And this might be a year, and if we reconvene and decide there's no events and we have more money to spend, then they could get more money. So maybe they should go down another 1,000 or, you know, but I also have my chamber hat on, and I know from personal experience of 7 years of being the chamber director, the chamber, you know, it's different now because the office is closed, but I always wanted to tell people that businesses who say, what do I get out of my membership? Well, the chamber is inundated by the community for information.
Yeah.
To people who live in Port Orchard, and somebody has to help them pay for that operation. So anyway, so that's my 2 cents. What do you guys think? I mean, maybe VCB goes to 19 and the chamber goes to 95 or something. I don't know, just to get closer to that 50,000.
I think that's a great idea. I think that sounds very reasonable.
I mean, and of course I'm saying POPSA 8,000, which is 44 less. That's, I'm not sure. I think that's fairly close to what we got last year. But so that, you guys say something now.
I'd like to make a comment regarding the 3,500 that we have allocated, because that's specific to the Discover Kitsap magazine, which the whole purpose is because it goes on the ferries into other chamber offices and hotel concierges in Seattle, is that it's not a guarantee yet that they're still going to go forward with that because of the businesses that are struggling so hard now that aren't going to be advertising, as was the case last year. We had that allocated and it did not happen. And Brenda Jorgens has also said, we're not 100% sure where it's going yet this year. So my question would be, if I'm awarded, if Fathoms is awarded the 3,500, and that doesn't happen.
I don't know that you should be talking about Fathoms as board committee. I think that you're providing an advantage that other applicants didn't have. So I would encourage you to refrain from talking about what your allocations would be for Fathoms. You can generalize it and say, from other knowledges that, other comments from other people that, this type of advertisement wouldn't go forward, but let's keep it to where you're not speaking directly for your
Gotcha.
application.
Okay. I'm the new kid on the block. I'm
I
sorry.
know. That's why it's a friendly reminder.
Well, then let me speak a kind of to that instead for her, because that was one of the questions I asked Matt yesterday, is about that Discover Kids app, because I also, we don't know what's going to happen with
Right.
that. So,
And that's appropriate for other members to comment of what they've heard and what they know.
Okay.
so he has that in his budget. Fathoms has it in their budget. It may not take place. I don't know where she was going with her question. Maybe she's wondering if, can you use it in some other way? And
Reallocate it.
yeah, I don't know how the city of Port Orchard thinks about that, but for the Roxy Bremerton Foundation, I have county funding from 2020 and city of Bremerton, and they were able to let you massage it a little. It was still for marketing, still for tourism, but because of everything, so that everything had changed. So
I think that would be one where we'd want to get the committee back together and avoid any keeping it transparent. So in other words, that if we're keeping allocation, but it's going to a different purpose than what was stated in the application, then we would want to do it that way.
Agree.
And that's why, with this being, usually we have more funds requested than we have money to allocate.
Yeah.
And so it usually, it goes to where it's been requested for. This is definitely a year where we're going to need to meet again, just to make sure, the path we're going on is the right one, and see if there's anything out there. Nothing, Randy, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's nothing that stops us in January or February of saying, hey, this is what it looks like. Anybody else has any applications out there?
Yeah, absolutely. We can open up the process at any time. We're not required. There's a clause in the application process that we have the right to refuse funding, or probably in their agreement, whichever. But yeah, we'll make sure that we put that disclosure in there when we advertise.
So again, I would like to, beat the horse, so to speak, not a dead horse, but just beat the horse again, is that, these funds do not go away. And, that's a very critical point right now. So there's a kind of a motion on the table with some amounts that takes it from 68,950 down to 52,500, with so reducing it down to 76% of the money that was requested, and basically with the caveat that we do meet again in the February timeframe. I'll put it out there as a February timeframe to see where events are going and see if we want to allocate some of the additional funding.
And Jay, what was the new percent of?
Which ones were tourist and marketing? And I can give you a percent on that one. Which ones were completely tourist and marketing? Was that the visit? And who was the other one, Brandy? I'll ask you for assistance. I'm sorry?
Chamber?
The Chamber? What, the Explorer?
Yes, I think so, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I guess I was looking at them as all being tourism and marketing, but.
That's what it says on the application. that-
Yeah, they're all
Look at
tourism.
all
and
these tourist
marketing.
marketing, and then you're at 52,000, which would be 52%. I don't think that's, don't get wedded into a number.
Exactly.
I
on
just
that
wanted
side of
to,
something.
that's kind of what you were saying, Corinne. So I think
Yeah.
that's like a good proposal.
I also want, those were I shaved those numbers off going down the list. I want to make sure everybody else, just because I said 4,000 off the Chamber, 4,000 off Visit Kitsap. I mean, that just seemed like an even amount to take off of the major requests. But if you guys have a different opinion on that.
And
I
Jay, can you
know that
repeat
the
those
money
numbers
will
for
be-
me?
I'm sorry?
Can you read off those numbers for me one
Sure.
more time so we're all
Yeah.
on the same page?
Fathoms requested 3,500,
Okay.
and the proposal is 3,500, fully funded. Sydney Museum was 5,000 requested, and the proposal is 5,000. Visit Kitsap was 24,000. The allocation right now is 20,000. Chamber had 2 requests, one for 10,000, which I believe was the Explore Kitsap, if I got it right. And the recommended allocation was 6,000. The Chamber's other request for operations was 14,000. The allocation recommended is 10,000. POPSA request was for $12,450.02. I'm joking on the 2 cents. And the recommended allocation was $8,000 even. So total request was 68,950. The recommended allocation, depending on the vote, is 52,500. And also with the recommendation that there be a meeting in February to review, and we can say right now if we want to reopen any additional requests for funding.
Well, I value Corinne's opinion as long as she's been in the business many, many years. I value Lorraine because she's been on this committee for a long time. So I would follow suit with what they propose.
So do I have thumbs up then? Or, does everybody want to vote yay?
And
Okay.
I just want to circle back to,
Sharon?
Circle back, go ahead.
just circle
Brandy.
back to the percentages of the previous years for how much has been allocated specifically for tourism. It's not as consistent as maybe we like to believe. So for example, and I do apologize on my numbers, it's 53% for 2019 that was, or excuse me, 2020 that was allocated. I forgot to go back and add that chamber piece. So 53% for 2020 was dedicated for just tourism marketing only. In 2019, only 30% was allocated for tourism marketing. I'm not quite sure why such a low number. When I'm looking at the numbers, oh, that's why. So when you look at the chamber's application for 2019, what they did is they did an all lump sum of visitor operations, event festival, and as well as I think they were doing Explore Port Orchard as well. He did not break it down as to how much he was allocating for which ones. So, I mean, I at some point I can probably put, the same numbers for the previous year, and that's going to get you up to about the same percentage as probably the previous year, which is 2018, and that's at 47%. So I think, Corinne, you're right on with about 50%. It's seems to be the trend for the last few years. It's hard to get an exact percentage because we took applications different ways. So
Okay.
So we're at the ballpark.
Yeah. Okay.
So I had 2 thumbs or 2 yays. Or Sharon. Okay. What else would you need, Brandy?
that's it. That's
Yeah.
that's easy. I'm 46 minutes. I think that's a record.
Oh,
It could
I
be.
have my whole afternoon now.
Okay. Well, you have to do something productive.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
I
I will
will.
bring this recommendation to
Right.
the council. I'm sure Jay will mention that, provide the council an update tonight at our council meeting, but there will be formal action that the council will have to take at the meeting in November, which I think is in November 10th. So it'll be on the agenda for them to approve the allocation. It goes as part of the budget process. They'll formally adopt it during the budget process, which is November 24th. And after that, first of the year, we'll send out contracts, and then I will send a reminder email to the chair to ask the finance director what he thinks the fund balance might be. And then you may be called back to discuss what we want to do from there.
Keep your calendars free for February.
And then I just have one more comment, Brandy. See what you all think of this. Is it possible to provide some sort of explanation to the folks that we're funding to let them know why not generally why we reduce anything, but that we were trying to hit a target around 50% to tourism and marketing, with the idea, and you can come up with the right words, but somehow explain this to our community members so that they understand, because they all see there was $100,000 there and at 68, and love for them to know why we did what we did.
Yeah.
I try, when I do my minutes, I try and summarize what I don't do verbatim minutes. So I just kind of summarize as a whole what the committee came up and discussed, and then I list all the applications and provide some sort of unique comment that was made during the deliberation. So that way I don't have the same comment for each one, because sometimes that happens. So absolutely, I'll put that as part of most likely a header, that this is the reason why we went in this direction, and then list them. So I will make sure that that's absolutely clear to the public in the minutes, as well as the committee, council, I mean.
That would be great. I mean, I don't know how you go about doing this, but if those other organizations who are strictly event oriented know that there's still this possibility out there, that definitely a possibility there's money if there's a possibility of events. So.
And I'll put it in my minutes to refer back to the date that the council talked about this and says, hey, we're opening it up for this reason. And they are going to go back and look at those numbers to determine, reallocation for that other category. So I'll re-put that in the minutes as well, so everybody has a full picture of how we got here and where we're going.
Thank you.
And again, if our tax collection comes in steady and the money is not spent and things start clearing up, that does give us reasons to look at how we could allocate for a banner year. So I'm an advocate for spending money to bring folks to Port Orchard, not an advocate necessarily to how much can we keep, because like I said, this doesn't go to anything else except for Port Orchard. So
Right.
let's keep it going.
Good.
Thank you all very much. I appreciate it. Brandy, thank you always for keeping things moving. And besides, please stay safe and please vote and get other folks to vote if they haven't yet.